Hello, my name is Jack Gravenkemper. This is my final assignment for Management 395. This is going to be about my basic camp experience at Fort Knox, Kentucky for the last 5 weeks. I'm taking the Army leadership values that I witnessed, tying them into the course and tactics that we learned, and then developing my own leadership tactic out of that. So, here we go. So I've got my intro, and then we're going to talk about the NCOs and their leadership tactics, then the officers, their leadership tactics, the similarities between the two, my data and results. Now what? Me building my own leadership tactic, a hybrid style that is my own compared to what I witnessed at camp, conclusion and sources. So, intro. Officers versus NCOs. Officers are commissioned officers. You get your lieutenants, your captains, majors, colonels, generals, stuff like that. Then NCOs are non-commissioned officers. So that is anyone who is E5 or above. So that is going to be your regular sergeant, your staff sergeant, sergeant first class, all the way up to command sergeant major. And there's also different types of NCOs. There's the regular NCOs, there's drill sergeants, and there's senior NCOs. So there's a lot of different stuff and a very wide category. But we're going to dive into it and do as best as I can to get all of that in. My personal data that I took notes, and we'll get into that later. And then I'm going to be building my own hybrid leadership style out of the two of them. Already said that. I'm rambling. Let's go. Okay, so non-commissioned officers, also referred to as NCOs. You have regular officer or non-commissioned officers who are your staff sergeants and your sergeants. Sometimes staff sergeants can be drill sergeants, so that is something that overlaps there. And then obviously you have your drill sergeants. That's who I spent the most time with and had the most interactions with because it is basic training condensed into shorter time for officers. And then you have your senior NCOs, so your first sergeants, sergeant master sergeants, command sergeant majors, and those guys are on a way wider level with a lot more responsibility, almost similar to a captain. And their general responsibility is the well-being of their troops. So drill sergeants are the ones who've been hammering us down just to build us up stronger as to become better cadets. That's their job. And then regular NCOs are just support roles when drill sergeants need a break or when there's too many of us for them, and it's they're working their way up to become higher caliber NCOs. So I noticed that NCOs really have a power distance leadership style. I know it's not an actual tactic that we covered in this class, but it was mentioned in one of the lectures, and I thought that it fit like a glove. They are very by the doctrine. They are not very forgiving, and they only want to be spoken to when it is an emergency, or they will speak to you if they need you. There is no like, hi, how you doing? It is, straight to business. They're going to tell you what to do and you do it. You talk when you're spoken to. They're very strict, but they also know when to take a step back, recover, tone training down. They know that we can't be going 110% every day, all day. So they do know when it is time to work and time to get things done and time to recover and, actually like give ourselves a little break. A quote that I liked from Senior Drill Sergeant First Class Nutter is I would rather take top 10 of you, 600 cadets, than all of you. And that is something that all NCOs really have in common is that they want quantity over quality. No, sorry, quality over quantity. They want the best. They want the top 10. Um, they don't want everyone out there with them. And when I heard this, I really wanted to become one of those 10 people. So it really inspired me to get on their good side and work really hard. Here comes the officers. They really demonstrate an LMX leadership style. They have one-on-one counselings with us. They have their circle. Good or bad luck, whether side you fall on. I feel like I kind of fell on the bad side. I think I might have been a little too outgoing for them. They're not very as doctrinalized as officers or NCOs are, which really surprised me. But they're very lead from the front type of people. They're out there doing physical training with us. They're out there at FTX, the field exercise with us, sleeping outside, and they don't need to be doing that. They do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but when it's time to work, they're also there for us, and that was something that I really admired out of them. So then they create personal connections with us. I'm a lieutenant from Central Washington, graduated 2 years ago. Had no idea who she was. She had no idea who I was, but we had that connection, and that was something cool. Um, Officers care more about the quantity of graduating cadets. They need to fill that officer quota every year, and the more the better. You have to have different calibers of cadets to fill those spots because there's going to be infantry officers and combat arms, and then there's going to be transportation and stuff like that. So it's just flip the coin. They want as many people as they can get. Um, Here's some quotes I liked from my regimental captain, Captain Myers. I want all of you to succeed and become leaders of tomorrow. Uh, that kind of just goes with how they want everyone to succeed. And then from Lieutenant Colonel Morris, you will be officers leading my children and my grandchildren. I will make sure that you are the best that you can be. And he is always pushing us to be the best we can be, and his standards were really high. So there's that. Similarities between the two. All the cadre at Fort Knox really want us to succeed, and they want us to become the best that we can possibly be. They have different ideas of how that's going to work, but they all share that in common. They all hold us to very high standards of discipline and determination and problem solving skills. We all get tested with the same stuff, and they're all very supportive. When it's time to learn, they're willing to teach. They are there. There's no such thing as a stupid question. But when it's time to get assessed, it's time to get assessed, and they're not there for you. So you need to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're doing it. My data and results, I took notes every week, like a lot of notes every week, and then I had my own like little quotes and like memorable things from that day that I would smush into my weekly recap in my notebook. And the results were that they they really are servant leaders, all of them. Whether that's NCO or officer, they really do care and they want to help people, and that's mostly why they joined the Army. Okay, so now what? I'm going to develop my own hybrid leadership tactic that I can use when I commission as a lieutenant, or on the civilian side when I do project manager stuff for construction companies, stuff like that. I really admire the LMX. I like that, how you have personal connections with everyone. But then also you do need that power distance between you as a leader and your subordinates, your team workers, and there needs to be a connection there, but you also need to be able to establish authority. And then you have servant leadership, which is, I think, is the most admirable thing you can do. Lead for others and be there for others, and that is something that I want to adapt into my own leadership tactics. So in conclusion, officers and NCOs butt heads a lot, and it is kind of a problem, but it also works like yin and yang. Like one of them wants one thing, one of them wants the other. They butt heads, but they come together, and that's what makes the officer and NCO relationship so unique, and why the Army is so part of why the Army is so diverse. And I think it is a really good thing to have because you get best of both worlds, but you also, it makes you think a little bit more. What do you want to be like? What do you want to do? Maybe someone started out as an NCO and they're like, I want to go be an officer. There's a plan for that. It's called Green and Gold. You can go to school and become an officer. Or if you're an officer, you're like, I'd rather be an NCO. You can forfeit, you can give up your commission and go be an NCO. So you have those options, and they're all about servant leadership. They're all selfless. They are all there for you, there for the people in need, and that is why they're in the Army, at least at that level. Obviously, at the beginning, it definitely varies. I don't think a private is going to be, all gung ho on helping people in need, but, a first sergeant is. So that just comes with time, I guess, and personal traits and experiences. So, yeah, that's my experience, and that is my project. Here are my sources, obviously, the textbook, myself and my research, and then AV's lectures. I did not know how to cite that, so I'm just giving him a shout out. Thank you very much. I hope you learned something and enjoyed my presentation.